going on? Matt Savoca here from Awesemo.com, bringing you the Week 16 DraftKings Monday Night Football Contenders video. This is Miami versus New Orleans. This is a 37-point total. This is Ian Book starting for an NFL team in the year 2021. Here we go. Before we get into this one, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you always know when we're going live. You guys know what to do. And if you could give me, Matt Savoca, a follow on Twitter at Draftaholic, that would be much appreciated as well. We'd also like to thank our presenting sponsor, No House Advantage. No House Advantage is offering player props contests for all major sports, and you can win real prizes for real cash today. Download the app in the Google Play Store or the App Store and use promo code Awesemo to get a first match deposit bonus up to $25. Okay, guys, on the screen here, you'll see my 10 through 6 of my top plays. Yeah, this could turn into an ugly, rush-focused, defensive-oriented mess of a game, if you will. While there are some breakout players here, the Dolphins defense is coming in at number 10 with a 26% chance of being in the optimal lineup. The Dolphins kicker, Jason Sanders, is coming in to the optimal lineup 26% of the time at number 9. At number 8, you get Traquan Smith. Basically anyone in the New Orleans passing attack is a variable, volatile option for sure this week. Number 7, speaking of volatile option, on the Dolphins running back side, we don't really know what that backfield's going to look like. Still, Gaskin coming into the optimal lineup 27% of the time. And then at number 6 is the Saints defense, even though they are not favored in this game, 3.5-point underdogs. In low total games, in ugly expected game scripts, you can start either defense. They're in the optimal lineup 29% of the time, but don't quite make the top 5. Who does? Let's watch and find out. Number 5, Mike Gesicki. Now, Gesicki is not the number 1 option on his team, but he is utilized like a wide receiver. He's basically a tight end in position label only here. His slot snaps and route participation rate are among the best for tight ends in the NFL. He's a receiver out there for all intents and purposes. And we saw him get 8 targets last week against the Jets and 11 targets against the Giants the week before that. Now, we have seen some target variability over the course of the second half of the season. I mean, he's had 3 target games. He had a 7 target game where he ended up catching none with a literal goose egg in fantasy points. But still, we're seeing him in the optimal lineup a solid amount as a flex play. Nearly 40% of our lineups have him in there. And he's getting over 30 DraftKings fantasy points 2.8% of the time. It's a low probability as it is for most tight ends, but look at that left side of the screen if you're on YouTube. Look at that big jump from the number 6 play to the number 5 play here in Gesicki. Gesicki has a 54% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Number 4, it's Devante Parker, and Devante Parker has come back with a pretty good target share in his first 2 games back from injury in weeks 13 and 15. He's seen 13 total targets, 2 in the red zone, converted 1 for a touchdown, and over 60 yards receiving in both games here. Yes, the sample size is small here, but it does look like we can project about 5 to 9 opportunities here for Devante Parker in this offense. Now, it's a tough matchup. Miami is the number 24 ranked offense in PFF's offensive grades, and they're playing New Orleans, who is number 2 in defensive grades via PFF. But Parker still with that guaranteed opportunity, essentially, and that big body. We're looking for a touchdown here at 9,400, but a median projection of 13.3. He's in the optimal lineup 56% of the time. Number 3, it's Alvin Kamara, and by far the safest skill position player on this slate, really by a mile here. Kamara could easily have a game like he had against the Jets 2 weeks ago, where he had 32 total opportunities that included 5 targets. In fact, he's had 11 targets over his last 2 games, and 18 over his last 3 games. With a quarterback who has never played a snap, it's so hard to project what's going to happen with the New Orleans passing attack, but we can say that they're going to be handing it off plenty to Alvin Kamara, and they're going to be dumping it down when Ian Book needs a safety valve this evening. So I know Kamara is risky because he's on the Saints. They have a 17-point implied total right now. It doesn't look great for them, but the guaranteed touches on a 1-game slate are unignorable. Kamara is getting over 30 fantasy points in 19.7% of our simulations, and he's under 10 fantasy points in 30%, but that's really pretty good, at least for skill position players on this slate. Even at 12,200 on DraftKings, he's in the optimal captain spot 9.9% of the time, and an optimal flex play another 54% of the time, putting him in the optimal lineup nearly 2/3 of the time, 64% to be exact. Number 2, I'm surprised to see Ian Book this high on our projected top players here. Hey, but we're going to trust the math. Obviously, if you're on YouTube, look at the distribution of fantasy outcomes. Really tilted towards the left, tilted towards negative outcomes. But this is a quarterback on a one-game slate. We only have 2 of them, and this player is 9K. That is fantastic in terms of value. I think the median projection of 14.6 fantasy points is generous. I think saying that getting over 30 fantasy points in 9.9% of our simulations is generous, and probably you're just expecting a floor outcome here. But he is a quarterback that had rushing upside when he played for Notre Dame. Also, he took care of the football, a 1.5% interception rate in his last 3 seasons as a starter at Notre Dame, compared to a 6.5% touchdown rate in those last 2 years. I mean, that's pretty solid touchdown to interception ratio. We don't know if that is really going to transfer directly over here, but you definitely do have a little bit of rushing upside, and that's where you're really getting those ceiling performances. And you've got the salary-based expectations that are fairly low. And the fact that he's a quarterback means he does exceed that in many of our simulations. Not an exciting play, but pretty scary play here in a game where the Saints are underdogs. But Ian Book coming into the optimal lineup 64% of the time. Before I reveal my final play, my number 1 play on DraftKings for this Monday Night Football slate, just want to remind you guys, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you always know when we're going live. You guys know what to do. And if you could give me, Matt Savoca, a follow on Twitter at Draftaholic, that would be much appreciated as well. And want to shout out our presenting sponsor, No House Advantage, one more time. They are awesome. Go ahead and download it in the App Store or Google Play, and use the promo code Awesemo to get a first match deposit bonus up to $25. And guys, last but not least, go ahead and leave a comment below. Which of these have been your favorite? Maybe your least favorite picks of mine, maybe some players that I left out. Always like to hear some feedback from you guys if you want to leave a comment below. Okay guys, let's reveal my number 1 play on DraftKings for this Monday Night Football slate. At number 1, it's Tua Tagovailoa, and yeah, you shouldn't be surprised to see his name this high. Now, the Dolphins don't necessarily push the tempo. They're a bottom 10 team in our game script adjusted pace of play, but quietly, they've become a pass-first offense, top 10 in our game adjusted pass rate, and they're 8th in the NFL in pass plays per game. And Tagovailoa has been accurate this year, number 1 in red zone completion percentage, number 1 in deep ball completion percentage, and number 2 in true completion percentage, which factors out drops and throwaways. So I'm not surprised, even though the matchup doesn't look great. The number 2 defense for PFF's team defensive grade, that's what the New Orleans Saints are at right now, and Miami's offense as a whole is just 24th in team offensive grades. But I actually believe that Tagovailoa has a solid ceiling here, and that's what the Sims are showing as well. An 18.7% chance of getting over 30 fantasy points, and just a 20% chance of getting below 10 fantasy points. Of course, that's in the range of outcomes, but I don't think that's going to happen here. I don't think that they're going to hold Tagovailoa, especially with his 3 big receiving weapons in Waddle, Gesicki, and Parker all available. He is the optimal captain play 15% of the time, and in the optimal lineup, a whopping 76% of the time in our latest simulations. All right, folks, that's going to do it for our Week 16 DraftKings Monday Night Football Contenders video. We will be back. There is no Thursday Night Football, so we will be back talking about the Sunday main slate soon enough. My name is Matt Savoca from Awesemo.com. We will talk to you guys next time.